no shielding. Does that tell you the change? They have been incrementally testing soft kill weapons, just designing everything to kill us. Cell phones, GMO, aspartame, MSG, melamine, mercury, lead. They have been doing all this, testing what kills you slowly so you don't know what kills you 10 years down the road. Look, folks, this is just like the hearings in the 1950s with J. Edgar Hoover. In fact, we could pull this up on YouTube. I know I've seen the video. J. Edgar Hoover, try to search the term J. Edgar Hoover said mafia didn't exist. J. Edgar Hoover testimony, mafia doesn't exist. I know there's audio of it in Congress. And I know I've seen the video. And they said, is there mafia? Is there organized crime? And he got up and he said, no, it doesn't exist. It's a conspiracy theory. Ladies and gentlemen, 56 years ago, the American people were being fed on by different mafias, Italian, Jewish, WASP, Irish, German, all over the place, even in Texas, everywhere. And the police wouldn't say it existed because they were all on the take for the whorehouses and the drug houses and the gambling houses, all of it. And it's the same thing. For decades, the world government's been out in the open, publishing thousands of reports every year to itself. They think you're so stupid, they issue these publicly and then have their pundits tell you there's no world government and no mega central banks that run it. Same deal. Just like they told you in the early 1950s that the mafia didn't exist on TV, news, and radio and print. Shut up, it doesn't exist. There is no such thing. Okay. I mean, is there organized crime? Do we know it now? Just like I'm telling you they're putting cancer viruses in your vaccines. It's 100% on record everywhere. It's 100% they're doing it on purpose. It's 100% Bayer shipped out for a decade, millions of ampules of factor VIII, knowing everyone that took it would get multiple forms of hepatitis and HIV. They knew it. They did it. MSNBC's even reported on that. You understand? You're going to feel very foolish later, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, there are FEMA camps. It's the Emergency Centers Act, the John Warner Defense Authorization Act. It's in the Houston Chronicle about the FEMA camps, the government funding of them. The Rex 84, Miami Herald. I have video of the congressional hearings. It's in my film, Police State to the Takeover. But just like J. Edgar Hoover, Glenn Beck gets up there and tells you there's no such thing as FEMA camps, just like J. Edgar Hoover told you there's no such thing as La Cosa Nostra. Of course there's such a thing as La Cosa Nostra. There's a global La Cosa Nostra. Our thing. It's their thing on us, and I'm sick of it. You know, I've studied different mafias, and if you go back 100 years ago, if any mafia got involved in whorehouses with underage kids, the mafia would kill whoever did it. Not now, they run it. See how even the mafia has degenerated. By the way, the Italian mob by the 50s was having wars with the Skull and Bones mob, the Jewish mob, and others, and they teamed up against them. That's why when they had to admit there was a mafia in the 50s, okay, there is a mafia. It's Italians. It's Italians. That's the only mafia. Oh, it's Italians. That's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. I know some of the best families, biggest, wealthiest families in Austin, Texas. Went to high school with some of them. They'd sit there and bring to school for a school report, you know, their grandpa at court hearings with Al Capone. You know, subpoenaed up to Chicago about liquor running. My dad's great uncle ran liquor in Houston for the Dixie Mafia and Al Capone. Can you imagine this? And by the way, he was part of the real mafia, the Masonic mafia. Two guys tried to rob him when he was going to speakeasies, picking up the money. He blasted them. He went into court and did a Mason in distress, and that judge went, bam, you're gone. Then they had a Masonic trial for him. If they'd have found him guilty, they would have killed him. But see, oh, there's no Masonic mafia. It doesn't exist. There's no La Cosa Nostra. 10 years ago, they wrote news articles about Alex Jones saying I was crazy, Skull and Bones didn't exist. In fact, here's Newsweek today. It's called Conspiracy of Dunces, and it makes fun of me in here because I snuck into Bohemian Grove. Let me tell you what the real mafia does. They go and have homosexual sex and worship Satan. I've been there. That's who runs this is just every stripe of what has been seen as aberrant, because that's the induction. As Richard Nixon told Harper's Magazine, you got to go be part of this to then be compromised. And that's my next point I want to cover right now. Before I get into the huge news of the day, CIA Chief Leon Panetta believes Pakistan intelligence chief on major attack. And they say they're fighting to stop imminent attacks right on time for the election. So that is coming up. But first, I wanted to cover this, because I keep saying I'm going to cover it, and I've mentioned it, but I haven't. The Nation magazine. A bunch of other reports here as well, mainstream news. I remember day one, 8 years ago, hearing that Blackwater was running weapons, that Blackwater was running drugs from good sources, that Blackwater was involved in assassinations and illegal hit teams, that Blackwater was involved in just killing people for fun. Now that's in federal depositions, and Eric Prince has run over to the Middle East to live and has moved his operations there, just like Halliburton and the rest of them Halliburton got caught running child kidnapping rings. Chicago Tribune. I mean, you can't see, they've got a leg up on us because the average person just can't admit this. But I heard all this, but never really covered it. You know, that Blackwater was involved in the gun confiscations in Katrina. We now know they were. Now they're known as XE. All of that. But we just sat back and watched others report it. We said, yeah, they look dirty. And if I had to look at somebody as a prime suspect of some of the biggest events in the last 9 years, I'd look at this group. Blackwater's Black Ops, The Nation. And this report, in fact, this is the other one. I need the Blackwater article about the depositions. This is the one about them doing Black Ops for Monsanto and Disney and Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines and others. The one I need is the big one that I had on Sunday dealing with, let me give you the exact headline then. I'll just give you the exact headline. Hold on. Blackwater depositions. Blackwater cocaine. Just put Blackwater cocaine, The Nation, in and give me that, please. I want to read directly from the report, but the issue here is, this is fully auto AK-47s being smuggled in and out of Iraq, piles of drugs, parties with men all naked running around snorting giant piles of cocaine, going outside and driving around at night, shooting into Iraqis' homes for fun. There it is, U.S. businessman. Blackwater paid me to buy steroids and weapons on black market for its shooters. Why in every case do you see this now rampant? Why do I have Army kill team leader wanted a necklace of fingers, Wired magazine? Because when they get them into these Army units and private merc units, that's who they recruit. They want them with whores and doing illegal things. Remember the tens of billions of dollars shipped in the first 2 years of the war on pallets? And that it came out that officers were being given hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's to corrupt them. And then all the Army and Marine Corps investigators who'd be sent to investigate, then they'd commit suicide in their barracks. This is just complete and total, absolute lawlessness so that they're compromised. And that's what DynCorp, Halliburton, Blackwater, all of these groups are given diplomatic international immunity. Their own aircraft, like the CIA aircraft that crashed in Mexico with 3+ tons of pure cocaine, was a CIA torture flight. Imagine the mafia, the real mafia, has diplomatic immunity, unlimited money, and national security, and now they're spying on all of us openly if we don't like their mafia operations. Do you understand? They've created an army of evil, a dark side. The corruption has gone too far. It's gotten too deep. We've got to reverse it now. And we've got to admit how corrupt this society has gotten and how bold the control freaks have gotten. Here's the article. U.S. businessman Blackwater paid me to buy steroids and weapons on black market for its shooters in sworn federal deposition. They're getting other confirmed depositions of the same thing. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And that's why Mr. Prince, Mr. G.I. Joe good guy, oh, they're clean cut. They must be nice. He's a former Navy SEAL. Isn't he a moral young man? Admittedly now models himself after the Swiss, who were the guardians of the Vatican. He wants to become like, the global mercs for hire for global corporations. Everything that's old is new. What is new is old. And then over and over again. I'm going to cover this at the start of the next hour. Then I'm going to get into the economy. But I will tell you this report by Paul Joseph Watson. We had such a big response. Christian Science Monitor, Yahoo News, AOL News, and close to 20 other major publications ran with the headline, Feds Radiating Americans Admitting Mobile X-rays are driving around. That became the #1 Google search term yesterday because of you. And it